Have you ever wondered about the meaning of life or the nature of suffering? To answer these questions, we journey back to the birth of Buddhism over 2,500 years ago. In the lush landscapes of ancient India, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama was born. Despite his life of luxury and privilege, Siddhartha was deeply troubled by the suffering he saw in the world. He was haunted by the inevitability of illness, old age, and death, and puzzled over the fleeting nature of pleasure. The prince realized that wealth and luxury did not guarantee happiness, so he decided to renounce his royal lifestyle in search of the truth. Leaving behind the comfort of the palace, Siddhartha embarked on a spiritual quest as an ascetic. He practiced severe self-denial and meditation, but found these extremes did not bring him the understanding he sought. Then, one fateful night, under the shelter of a Bodhi tree, Siddhartha chose a middle way. A path of moderation away from the extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. He meditated deeply and entered a state of profound understanding. In this transcendent moment, Siddhartha discovered the truths about suffering and the way to liberate oneself from it. He became the Buddha, or the Enlightened One. Buddha spent the rest of his life teaching others what he had learned. He shared his insights about the nature of suffering, its causes, and how one can overcome it. These teachings form the foundation of Buddhism, a path not of belief but of understanding and practice. And so, with the enlightenment of Siddhartha, Buddhism was born, offering a new perspective on life, suffering, and the path to liberation. At the heart of Buddhism lie the Four Noble Truths, profound teachings that illuminate the nature of suffering and the way to its cessation. The first of these truths is the truth of suffering, or dukkha. This truth acknowledges that life, in its many forms, is marked by a certain degree of dissatisfaction, pain, and unease. From the minor irritations of daily life to the profound sorrow of loss, dukkha is a universal experience. The second truth, the cause of suffering, or samudaya, delves into the origins of our discomfort. It points to our desires, attachments, and ignorance as the root cause of this suffering. Our craving for pleasure, aversion to pain, and misunderstanding of the true nature of reality all contribute to our state of dukkha. The third truth, the end of suffering, or nirodha, offers a beacon of hope. It posits that it is indeed possible to transcend this state of suffering by extinguishing our unhealthy desires and attachments, and by gaining a correct understanding of reality, we can achieve a state of liberation known as nirvana. Finally, the fourth truth, the path that leads to the end of suffering, or magga, outlines the practical steps we can take to achieve this liberation. This is where the Eightfold Path comes into play. The Eightfold Path is a comprehensive guide to ethical and mental development. It is not a sequential path, but rather, it's a set of interdependent principles that work in harmony. These principles are right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. By cultivating these 8 aspects, one can progressively eradicate ignorance, develop wisdom, and ultimately free oneself from the cycle of suffering. It's a journey that demands commitment and effort, but it promises a reward that is beyond measure: the cessation of suffering and the attainment of lasting peace. These core beliefs form the foundation of Buddhism, providing a roadmap for those seeking liberation from suffering. Buddhism is not just a belief system, but a practice. But what does this practice look like? This question often echoes in the minds of many, and to answer it, we delve into the key practices of Buddhism. At the heart of these practices lies meditation, a powerful tool that Buddhists use to achieve enlightenment. This isn't your typical sit down and clear your mind type of meditation. No, it's an immersive journey of self-discovery and understanding. Through meditation, Buddhists strive to uncover the true nature of reality, breaking free from the illusions that often cloud our perceptions. It's a path to liberation, a way to transcend the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, known as samsara. Meditation in Buddhism comes in many forms, each serving a unique purpose. Some meditations focus on developing insight, known as vipassana, while others foster concentration, called samatha. Yet, they all share a common goal: to cultivate an enlightened mind, a mind free from delusions and filled with wisdom and compassion. Speaking of compassion, it's another cornerstone of Buddhist practice. Buddhists believe in the interconnectedness of all beings, and thus the importance of extending compassion and kindness to all. This isn't just about being nice to others. It's about recognizing the inherent suffering in life and actively seeking to alleviate it. It's about living selflessly, putting others' needs before your own. Alongside compassion, mindfulness is deeply ingrained in the Buddhist way of life. It's the practice of being fully present, aware of what we're doing and where we are, not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's happening around us. It's about observing our thoughts, feelings, and actions without judgment. Mindfulness helps Buddhists to stay grounded, to live in the moment, and to cultivate a sense of peace and tranquility. Through these practices, Buddhists cultivate a deeper understanding of the self and the world, a step closer to enlightenment. These aren't just religious rituals, but life skills, tools to navigate the complexities of life with grace and wisdom. They are the keys to unlocking the full potential of the human spirit, guiding us towards a life of peace, happiness, and ultimate liberation. Buddhism, like a tree, has grown many branches over the centuries, each with its unique interpretation and practices. Let's dive into the three main branches of Buddhism: Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Each of these branches has flourished in different regions and cultures, bringing with it a distinct flavor of Buddhism. First up, Theravada Buddhism, often referred to as the doctrine of the elders. This branch is considered the closest to the original teachings of Buddha and is prevalent in countries like Sri Lanka, Burma, and Thailand. Theravada Buddhists place a strong emphasis on individual enlightenment through meditation and mindfulness. Next, we have Mahayana Buddhism. This branch, whose name means great vehicle, is the most widespread, finding its roots in East Asia, including China, Japan, and Korea. Unlike Theravada, Mahayana focuses on the enlightenment of all beings. It introduces the concept of the bodhisattva, an enlightened being who delays their own nirvana to aid others on their path to enlightenment. Lastly, we have Vajrayana Buddhism, also known as Tantric Buddhism. This branch is primarily found in Tibet and Mongolia. Vajrayana is known for its rich rituals and the use of mantras and meditation techniques, aiming to quickly attain Buddhahood in a single lifetime. Despite these branches having different practices and interpretations, they're all rooted in the same basic teachings of Buddha, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. They all seek to understand and alleviate suffering, advocating for mindfulness, compassion, and the pursuit of enlightenment. While Theravada emphasizes individual enlightenment, Mahayana emphasizes collective enlightenment, and Vajrayana focuses on rapid attainment of Buddhahood. They all have the same ultimate goal: to attain nirvana, the state of ultimate peace and liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Despite their differences, all branches of Buddhism share the same root: the teachings of the Buddha, guiding millions on their journey towards enlightenment. Buddhism, a journey of the mind, a path to liberation, and a way of life. This profound tradition, which began some 2,500 years ago in India, has left an indelible mark on the tapestry of human thought and spirituality. Buddhism sprang from the experiences and teachings of one man, Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha or the Enlightened One. It was his quest for understanding the nature of suffering and the path to liberation from it that gave birth to this enduring tradition. At the heart of Buddhism lie the Four Noble Truths: the truth of suffering, the cause of suffering, the end of suffering, and the path that leads to the end of suffering. These truths are not dogmatic assertions, but practical guidelines for navigating life's challenges. The Eightfold Path, the fourth noble truth, outlines the way to end suffering. It's a comprehensive system for ethical and mental development, leading to a state of complete understanding, ultimate peace and liberation, known as nirvana. Meditation is a key practice in Buddhism, a tool for cultivating mindfulness and compassion, and ultimately achieving enlightenment. This practice encourages a deep awareness of the present moment and fosters a compassionate attitude towards oneself and others. Buddhism has evolved into three main branches: Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, each with its unique characteristics, practices, and geographical spread. Theravada, known as the School of the Elders, is prevalent in Southeast Asia. Mahayana, the Great Vehicle, is dominant in East Asia, while Vajrayana, the Diamond Vehicle, is practiced mainly in Tibet and Mongolia. In its essence, Buddhism is not just a religion, but a philosophy, a moral code, and a way of life. It's a journey of self-discovery and transformation that invites us to look deeply into the nature of reality, and our place in it. In understanding Buddhism, we glimpse a different perspective on life and suffering, a journey of enlightenment that continues to inspire millions around the world.